And now to our conversation on the show today. The official countdown to Edo election has started. It's now 6 days of the contest. 18 candidates are jostling to get the governor's seat at the Osadebe's Avenue. Interestingly, the succession battle for the seat will be among three political parties in the state, the APC, PDP, and the Labour Party. The police is also set to deploy about 35,000 security operatives to ensure adequate security, according to Deputy Inspector General Police Frank Umba. Let's feel the political temperature ahead of the election. Joining me live from Benin City, the state capital, is the spokesperson, Aswe Ogie Campaign Council, Chris Ojekere. Mr. Ojekere, thank you for joining us on the program.
Yeah, thank you. Aswe Ogie.
Exactly. I think that's what I said. Aswe Ogie, right? Let's begin with how your party is reacting to INEC's refusal to redeploy the resident electoral commissioner in this election following your party chairman's letter.
Well, as a law-abiding party, what we can do is what we have done. We have raised the alarm. We have made people to know that there is a moral question there when you have a minister in the opposition party and who has come out to say very belligerently that he is his cousin and there's nothing we can do about it and there is nobody that can intimidate him. We don't know what has created the supposition for intimidation, except that it is a very typical of what has been happening in Edo State, which made us raise the alarm in the first place. We should expect that anybody who is related to the opposition and who has the potential for skewing the election towards the opposition, that as a moral body, that person should not be seen participating as an umpire in an election in which he has interest by proxy. And so we have raised that alarm. We have informed Nigerians. We have informed the authority. We have put forth the demand that the man should be redeployed, if only to raise the mind of our voters that the system will be transparent, fair, and free. Why is it difficult to do so? I remember when Buhari appointed somebody who was supposed to be related to him as a reg. There was so much pressure that the person was changed. So I don't see why it is difficult to change the reg if there are no other interests, whether it's of ego, whether it's of pushing the so-called federal might, or whether it is having a clandestine desire to do something against the election.
Mr. Ojekere,
any reason.
Are you also paying attention to the political slant to this development? The fact that INEC is saying the current commission conducted two governorship elections in the past, in 2016 and 2020, successfully, with no one accusing it of rigging. It's just the fact that the minister you're referring to now appears to be supporting the APC. I'm sure there wouldn't have been a problem like there wasn't in the past when it was solidly behind the incumbent governor within the People's Democratic Party. My concern really is, do you think we can keep going on and on because each political party has some kind of interest in this regard?
We haven't done anything. As I said, we have only raised the issue and we've raised the question. We are leaving it to INEC management to take the decision. It does not deter us from preparing for Saturday. We are prepared for Saturday and we are going into the election, irrespective of who is put there to man the post. What we are going to do is to ensure that whatever is the process or activity, we ensure that it's by the books and we defend our votes and ensure that the election that is going to be conducted is free and fair and that it is the election that will be declared in the results that will be declared later.
Let's take a look at the dynamic side of this election. There's the perception that this election is a proxy contest between politicians who are not necessarily on the ballot. What implications do you expect this to have on the outcome on Saturday?
Well, the implications it will have, it has started to have. It had tried to create a kind of fear-mongering atmosphere in Edo State. We shut that down because we know how dangerous it is to create that kind of tension and situation before an election, especially in a volatile state like Edo State. We don't understand why those who are outside Edo State are so interested in Edo 2024 election. Edo people are quite capable of conducting their affairs. And we are quite capable of electing people to public offices. We don't think, and we didn't think that we needed some kind of, unsolicited umpires and teachers and interest group from the outside. So what we are trying to do is to encourage our voters not to be bothered by busybodies, but to be focused on Saturday and to ensure that we stand to defend franchise, democracy, and get a free and fair election where our votes will count. It is not about Edo State and about PDP. It is about the sustenance of democracy. Even though we call our democracy, or we say our democracy has come a bit of age, we are just 20-something years old. You can't compare it to the 300 and something years old democracy. So we still need, all of us as Nigerians, to ensure that this democracy is protected. At every point you have an off-cycle election like this, everybody should ensure that what goes on there is democratic and that what comes out of it is democracy. And that's why our national chairman, acting national chairman, Damango, said, Edo's election is democracy on trial. It's going to prove whether our democracy has actually come of age and has matured.
But do you think that stakeholders have also carried themselves well, to manage the situation? You are talking about politicians from outside. I'm even referring to stakeholders within the state, former governor, incumbent governor, some who have been quoted to have said this election is going to be a do-or-die affair. Another one was quoted on national television threatening that Nigeria will burn if things don't go their way. How well would you say stakeholders have conducted themselves, particularly within your party?
Yeah, so see, that's the point I was making. Language is spoken within context of situations. I mean, we don't just use words, except there are contexts of situations. So every word spoken and every sentence made should be interpreted within context. I don't think that anybody in Edo campaigning against opposition parties in Edo would have any reason to make such statements. For instance, Wike, who is not campaigning in Edo, saying that the man is his cousin and nobody can intimidate him. I don't see why Wike should be making such statements. Wike has no relationship with Edo whatsoever. So, but context has created certain things to be said. What is important is how do Edo people understand what was said within the context of situation. In Edo State here, we understand ourselves. Our language is kind of peculiar. And so we understand the things that have been said within context. And that is why you find that just a few days to the election, Edo is still very peaceful. And we are still telling Edo people to stay the course, come out on Saturday and vote en masse.
Again,
so
Mr.
what we have here is democracy on trial.
Politics is
they have made
very
a choice.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
If you can hear me, Mr. Jekere, I'm saying that it's very interesting, the dynamics of politics. I'm sure the PDP did not have an issue with Wike supporting the incumbent governor in the last election when he decamped to the PDP. But we'll talk more about that shortly. Let's take a short break, and we'll be back with more. Stay with us, everyone.
Is a requirement. And
Spokesperson of the Aswell-Gay Campaign Council, Chris Ojekere, is my guest on the show this evening. Mr. Ojekere, thank you so much for staying the course on the program. Your party has refused to sign the peace accord, and that seems to be raising some concerns about a a violence-free exercise on Saturday. Of the 17 political parties contesting this election, 16 signed the treaty, but the PDP declined to be part of the agreement. How do you react to this?
If you could repeat the question, please. I didn't hear you in the initial point.
I'm talking about the refusal of your party to sign the peace accord, which has raised concerns about a violence-free exercise on Saturday.
Before the peace accord team, led by the former respected head of state, came to Edo State, we've made and we've cried ourselves, out that the PDP in Edo State is being hunted by the Nigerian police. As at the time he came, we already had 10 persons who had been arrested unlawfully. Unlawfully because nobody has told us up till now why they were arrested, and they were all PDP members. And to make matters worse, they've all been spirited off to Abuja. Even if they had committed a crime, we expect that they will be in the area of jurisdiction where the crime was committed. Now, incidentally, the team came when one of them, that is a principal officer, being the chairman of the local government of Esan Central, was arrested too after he had gone to report that he was molested, beaten, and bandaged. He was detained, arrested, and spirited to Abuja after the governor had intervened, spoken with the police commissioner, and the police commissioner had said he would get back to him. The next thing the governor heard was that he has been taken to Abuja. We also had in possession a list of a number of persons, numbering over 60, that were to be arrested. All of this started from July 18th, when they had shot at the airports, captured in cameras, captured by national newspapers, This Day, Vanguard, and the others. Their faces were displayed of those who are the lions and tigers disturbing the peace of Edo State, shooting guns sporadically, which unfortunately, hits the candidate of the APC's ADC, or one of his aides, police aides, who unfortunately died, Mr. Inspector Akko. We had raised all of these issues, and none of the issues have been resolved. So by the time they came to sign a peace accord, we thought it would be the height of hypocrisy to be signing a peace accord in the midst of anarchy, when law and order has broken down in the states and anarchy is almost taking over. So we needed to raise that awareness before the world, bring it to the IGs, because when the IG was responding, he denied most of the incidents. That is, he denied having any notice or information. In fact, he told us that when he was here was when he asked the police commissioner, and he confirmed some of these incidents.
Indeed.
So the governor needed to do that so that the IG will be aware, the president will be aware, that some members of the APC in Edo State, hiding under the clout of federal might and hiding under the clout of the presidency, have got themselves an arm of the police, and we got the names of the police. We published their pictures also, and are using them to intimidate APC members.
Mr. Jekere,
we needed commitment.
Can you hear me? I hear you, and I hear your concern, which is not different from the stories we've also heard from the other side, but it's quite different from what I'm talking about. Are you saying your party has chosen not to be peaceful in this election because its members were arrested? Because that's the interpretation for not signing a peace accord.
I am saying that my party has demonstrated by not signing that we want peace more than anybody. Peace is not something that is abstract. If you are arresting people, hounding them, taking them to Abuja, and then police is seen to be complicit in all of this, and you call that peace, then what would you call anarchy? So we are trying to say, let's get peace. Let all the people, stakeholders interested in peace, stakeholders involved in keeping peace, come and give assurance to Nigeria that there will be peace. And after they have done that, we will sign. Those people in Abuja now have been found out as a television station whether they have been tried.
Mr. Jekere, the APC
need to be
has
brought
also
back home and tried for offences. We have not been told what offences they've committed. They've not been released. We showed
the APC has also accused.
Some have little children, wives, all crying. They've not seen their families. They've not seen their father. They've not seen their cousins. They have not seen their brothers. So
I hear you, Mr. Jekere.
Is to append our confirmation. Or I'm thinking of the words to use now. That is to give credence to that state of affair is peaceful.
Your position cannot be overemphasized, Mr. Jekere. You seem to be raising concerns about some arrests that have been made, if you can hear me, Mr. Chris Jekere. And I hear you clearly. But I'm also asking if you are concerned about the interpretation of boycotting such a significant occasion that has become a tradition, in our electoral process in Nigeria. The concern that boycotting signing a peace accord means that your party is saying it's going to be a free-for-all. For instance, the APC has accused the PDP of planning to disrupt this election. There is still time. Do you think that the PDP is still going to decide to sign this document before Saturday?
Yes. It is a conditional boycott. It is when you have a condition or a precondition. The moment you meet the condition, then the action follows. So I would rather that you give consideration to the conditions or the preconditions for signing more than the effect. For every effect and for there's a causal factor. We have explained the causal factor. You know it is escapist for anybody not to deal with causal factors and begin to deal with their effects. So we want the causal factor for the sake of democracy, for the sake of Nigeria's democracy, to give assurance to Edo voters that Saturday will be peaceful, and then everybody will come and heighten our young democracy and further it and entrench it.
All right.
That's what we are. We're actually crusaders for peace and for democracy.
16 political parties out of 17 have shown interest in peace by signing that document, which I believe that was what the whole arrangement was about. But let's leave that to talk about some other concerns, which include voter inducement and vote buying, which have been serious concerns in the lead up to this election. Yega Africa has specifically alleged that your party and others are engaging in the distribution of cash, food, and other gifts like wrapper to eligible voters during campaign tours. Are you concerned about the impact of this on the quality of this election?
As a spokesperson for Aswe Godalo, it's just this morning that I was able to get a T-shirt from my political party, our PDP campaign T-shirts. So I would have been very glad to get a wrapper, just as you have accused. Yaga Africa, a non-governmental organization, I don't think they would be so dumb as to figure or finger PDP and say PDP is distributing anything to induce people. Everybody knows Governor Obaseki is the most financially prudent governor in Nigeria and has used legal processes to prosecute all the impediments he had met in his political race. Aswe Godalo is one of the most respected bastions in the corporate industry. And if you ask everybody, they will tell you one uniform testimony about him. It's integrity. We are maintaining integrity. We have no reason to induce because we are 80% ahead of everybody. All the polls that have been conducted, whether by private organizations, newspaper houses, journalists, and so on and so forth, we are miles and distance ahead of anybody. So it is our election to lose. Therefore, we have no reason to begin to induce. If you heard that, it is parties that are coming behind that should be inducing. For instance, the APC that have a wobbled and cobbled up candidate may want to induce people not to take notes of his shortcomings. Are you going to be inducing people to believe that Aswe Ighodalo is a University of Ibadan graduate of economics and an LSE graduate? Are you going to induce people to say that? The man who retired from 8 boards, resigned from 8 boards to come and contribute his quota to the development of Edo State. Are you going to induce people to believe that? His profile is in the public square. The popularity of PDP, I mean, if you ask your people who cover the different campaign, grounds in the wards, every time Aswe Ighodalo climbs down from the rostrum, you have people jumping into the PDP from other parties, especially the APC. We have completely the APC so much and defeated other parties so much. So we have completely
run out of time. We have completely run out of time, and I hear you clearly. Hopefully, we're going to have some more time. You have talked about defection. There have also been defection of high-profile members of your party. It's across board.
I have no political
but just in case you're not aware, let me give some clarity to the question I asked you, and perhaps you can do this fact-checking yourself. Yaga Africa talked about PDP campaigners giving rappers to women who joined the campaign gathering in the Amebohean community of Eastern Northeast local government area. It also talked about what happened in Ubiaja community of Eastern Southeast, where campaigners gave several store owner shirts, caps, umbrellas, as much as 2,000 naira. And this is not limited to PDP. There are also cases of APC doing the same. But that's our time, and we'll probably find time to continue this conversation. Spokesperson Aswe Oge, Campaign Counsel Chris Ojekere, thank you so much for talking to us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
That's our program today, everyone. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.